Hello, welcome to Destination Wellbeing, and on this evening's show we are going to talk about Alzheimer's as we move into the month of September, which is Alzheimer's Awareness Month. On the show this evening I have Julie, who's a representative from the Alzheimer's Society in Newry, and Julie's going to just introduce herself. Prior to that, just before Julie does introduce herself, if we can just remind ourselves that at Destination Wellbeing we do recommend that everybody takes responsibility for their own health and their own well-being. Neither Julie or myself are medical practitioners, so we're here really just as an information session and to share some knowledge that we've picked up both as a holistic therapist and also working in the field of Alzheimer's as in support services. So Julie, welcome to Destination Wellbeing.
Thank you, Joanne. My name is Julie McManus and I am Dementia Support Worker and Interim SIM Service Improvement Manager for Alzheimer's Society Northern Ireland. I'm locally based in Newry in Ballybot House and cover a range of services for anyone who is suffering from dementia.
Okay, great. So I'm sure that is a busy job. Are you finding it you're getting more and more people coming through, Julie, or how is how's your statistics and stuff?
Statistics at the moment are currently in Northern Ireland we're looking at a figure of around 18,300 people living with a diagnosis of dementia.
Okay, so that's, and in the Newry and Mourne area, do you have, what sort of services do you provide there, or do you have?
Currently being provided here in Newry and Mourne would be dementia support visits 1-to-1. We also provide a presence at the fortnightly memory clinic up in Clockray House. We run a reminiscence cafe in Mullaban for people with dementia and for their carers also. We also have 3 big lottery funded dementia cafes in Kilkeel, Armagh and Banbridge, which are also very well attended as well. We do our carer support group the first Tuesday of every month, which gives carers a chance to come together and sort of offload whatever issues they've had throughout the previous month.
I think that's the important part with any condition really, is that often the carers maybe somewhere along the line get forgotten about, and I'm sure it's a stressful environment, particularly for people who are at home 24/7 with a person or family member suffering with dementia.
Yes, there's no doubt about that. It's 24/7 and usually there's very little respite from that, so it can be a very tough job.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I know as well, when we've talked in the past, where we've talked about one of the areas that is of possible concern, or suppose what we're hoping to raise awareness around, would be also early onset. I mean, there are younger people diagnosed. We often look at Alzheimer's as something that is for older people exclusively. Is it something that can affect younger people? Or?
Almost definitely, yes. And I think just for purposes of clarity for everyone, dementia is an umbrella term for the different types of it's a group of physical illnesses which affect the brain. Alzheimer's is only one of those, followed very closely by vascular dementia, which would come on mostly as a result of previous heart attack or stroke. Okay. We also then are looking at frontotemporal dementia, which affects very much the front lobe of the brain, which then affects behaviour. And yes, diagnosis rates are coming in thick and fast as early as early 40s.
Early 40s.
Yeah,
that's a worry.
It is a big worry.
Yeah. And as we mentioned, coming up we have Awareness Month, Dementia Awareness Month, and does it fall in under Dementia Awareness or Alzheimer's Awareness then?
It would be just Alzheimer's Society Awareness, yeah. But that would be, although we're called Alzheimer's Society, we cover all forms of dementia, and therefore all the support is available for all types.
Okay, and we've mentioned obviously there's a lot of support in the Newry and Mourne area. Does that broaden out across Northern Ireland the same and into the UK? Would there be the same levels?
It does, yes. We pretty much.
Your head office organisation is a UK based organisation, is it? Or is it a local? I mean, I know you have your local base.
Yeah.
Would there be similar? So if we had a listener watching in or a viewer watching in from other parts, there are similar services run throughout?
Oh yes, we're UK wide, and we have a branch office in most big towns throughout Northern Ireland. For Northern Ireland here, our head office would be in Belfast, so we cover the north and east and south and west localities, so it's pretty good coverage all over.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I mean, but it's wonderful that there are those services there. Would you imagine then, in terms of referrals, or how would people get to know with you? So if a family member is diagnosed with Alzheimer's, will they contact you, or is there a way that you then can contact to other people? Is it a bit of a two-way?
Well, hopefully, a lot of times we get a lot of self-referral from people coming in just through, awareness raising that we have done. So hopefully this evening will be fantastic for us for raising awareness to let people know that we are here and that we're present and can offer some support and help. A lot of referrals would come from the memory clinics, where the consultant who would be making the diagnosis would then, mention our services to the family at time of diagnosis or review. Yeah. So there's a lot of avenues in.
Okay, and with the various different support groups, so you mentioned they're one of the reminiscent cafes. That sounds like such a nice term to put on it. And what type of things would be taking place at that for anybody?
Well, we would have like quizzes. So at the minute, most of our quizzes would be, the questions would be relating back to the 1940s, 1950s. So if we have a group of 70, 80-year-olds, there's always going to be someone who can always answer the questions. A lot of the time, those questions will turn into the lyrics of a song. So the whole group then will burst out into song, and it's great. And they'll do maybe musical bingo, they'll maybe get hand massages. So there's loads of activities that go on within those groups, and it helps to isolate anyone left out on their own. So there's lots of...
so it helps to integrate them and gives a support service. And I know from a holistic perspective, that would be two of the key things that they would talk about. That's quite important, and a lot of research has been done. The first one being keeping the brain active, so you're talking about quizzes, crosswords, those types of things, even from a preventative point of view. And then the other one is keeping yourself socially aware and having social contact, because I suppose without any challenge, and we can all see how that could happen, that if you don't have a regular thing to attend, I mean, if we didn't have to get up to go to work in the morning, so we didn't have to do stuff like that, very quickly one day would become very similar to the next, and you would lose track of, whereas to have something, well, then you at least have an awareness, well, this is Thursday or this is Tuesday or whatever day it is. And
I think the key message from that is that it's very important for everyone to remember that the person, although they've received a diagnosis, they are still very much a person and have a right to a quality of life that they would have had prior to diagnosis. So that's another message that we like to push home all the time, that just because I have a diagnosis of dementia does not mean that I'm not able to participate in normal everyday life. So it's all about keeping...
And I suppose there's also maybe the awareness that can sometimes happen with any diagnosis, is that people think that everybody can't hear.
Exactly.
They can't, just because maybe I have a dementia awareness and I can't remember certain things.
Yes.
But I can still hear what's going on around me, and I can still have an awareness of what's happening around there, and I'm sure that must be...
People can live well with the diagnosis of dementia.
Yeah, and that's... and would there be any, I suppose, link across to other conditions? Is it... I suppose what I'm saying is from a prolonged perspective, do dementia sufferers then maybe progress at a greater rate, or would they take on all their illnesses, or would there be anything like that, or is that just as likely as with anybody else?
Well, I can speak of personal experience from my mother suffers from dementia, from vascular dementia. So I suppose prior to diagnosis, it was going to maybe always be a given that she may have gone on to develop dementia, given that she had heart and stroke trouble, so the vessels were affected. So with regard to developing other illnesses from within the journey of dementia, it's that's anybody's guess.
It's the same.
We can all go on to develop things. So
there's not any greater. That was, I suppose, that was the curiosity around the question that I had, was really where it was. Is there a link between the two?
Yes.
Or any link to anything else in particular? So coming up for September time then, have you a fun, busy month ahead planned?
Well, for September we have various memory walks taking place throughout Northern Ireland. We have one in Derry, we have one in Belfast, and we have one in Enniskillen. So those are always very well attended, and there again a lot of carers attend those.
Okay.
And will maybe sometimes there'll be a huge tree and they'll, you know, tag on remembering, you know, people with dementia. So further details for that can be found on our website.
We'll share that. Yeah, we can share that.
Okay.
Work with it.
Yeah, it's www.alzheimerssociety.org.uk.
Okay, brilliant. So, and that's in terms of awareness amongst is there anything? There's the memory walks. Are there? I suppose there'll be media campaigns and things like that.
Well, we're always, you know,
always
we just we don't isolate just to the month, a particular month. It's a constant drive, and at the minute now we're putting a lot of funding and effort into dementia friendly communities, where we'll be working with different associations to make the general public aware of people out there that are coming into the shop to buy milk, using the bus, that, you know.
And what would a dementia friendly community look like? What types of things can the general public be aware of, or what maybe even we don't have, you know, even it's not an initial family member, you might come across somebody. What type of things would you be aware of, or how could you help somebody who might find themselves that wee bit
it's the way we would look at that also would be, you know, for if the person still remains a certain amount of independence, if they can go to their place of worship, if they can go to the shop to buy milk, that perhaps maybe the carer would send a wee card or something on it just to say, you know, this person has dementia, so that the shops, when they come in, maybe somebody might forget to pay for something, you know, somebody maybe get lost out in the community, that people are just, it's all about awareness raising, you know, that people are more switched on to that we now are living in a society with you know, a growing number of people being diagnosed.
And I suppose the good thing from that perspective in one sense is that people are able to live in the community. So it's not, you know, I have a diagnosis and then I'm left in the house, or I'm in care, or I'm in, you know, I'm in residential care maybe, or something like that, but that we can change and alter society and create an environment whereby, obviously to a certain level, and as you say, it depends on it's very much dependent on the individual.
And it's also very much about trying to you know, dispel the stigma attached to someone with dementia. It's not a mental health issue, so, you know, I think a lot of people are of the opinion that a diagnosis of dementia signifies a mental health problem, which it doesn't come under that realm at all.
It's,
you know, so
it's basically where the brain just has
it's a physical
condition. Last week I had a guy in from the Family Hope Centre who deal a lot with children with brain hurt, is the term that they use there, but they also would deal a lot with Alzheimer's patients and Parkinson's patients in sort of building up the muscle of the brain as well, seeing the brain, although it's an organ, but seeing it from the perspective that it can be built and it can be worked and it can be kept active, and through various different from a neurological perspective. And it was very interesting just to hear the angle that can be taken there, and how important things like sense of smell are, as you're talking about the frontal lobe and things like that, how connected they are. And I know, having spoken to some of your colleagues in that as well, that a lot of the memory box stuff that you do at your dementia cafes is connected with smell.
Soap, and, you know, just wee simple triggers that trigger memories from the past.
And we all smell's such a powerful memory
smell
trigger.
and touch, and also music.
They're such powerful, because we can instantly, you can smell something or you can hear a piece of music and be transported right back to the very time you first heard it. That's or you know, it's an amazing, the brain is really is an amazing thing. I have an experience a few weeks ago where we were talking about memory and, you know, how much can be stored in the head that you just can pull out and think to yourself, where was that bit? Where did that bit come from? So it is an amazing, you know, it's an amazing organ, and it's an amazing facility to be able to do that.
Well, you know, we can't speak highly enough of music. We last year put together the My Reminiscence Cafe and a colleagues cafe in Lurgan, and together we pulled I think it was something like 20 to 25 people with dementia and their carers, and we made a CD which was launched at Stormont.
Brilliant.
So and the CD can be got, you know, from any of our offices. And some of the songs are very, very moving. There was one particularly written for someone suffering from Alzheimer's.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so it was great, and it took those people out from the daily, trudge of dealing with caring for
we
someone.
all love I mean
Yeah.
we all love being taken out. And had you both carers and
People with dementia,
suffering with dementia involved in that?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Oh gosh, yeah. And there was one gentleman in particular who was a former conductor. So once he heard the music, while he wasn't able to actually, verbalise and sing, he was able to move the hands to conduct.
Brilliant. Yeah. So
it was very, very moving.
But as I said, for all of us, music is
Yes.
music, and smells for me definitely would trigger memories from childhood right through. You just have to smell it once, and then you're transported right back. And is there a preventative element then to any of the work? I mean, in terms of ensure or getting word out there to people. I know from a holistic perspective, obviously, as a reflexologist, I would certainly encourage regular reflexology for health in general.
Yes.
And I think certainly the brain is one of the reflex points that can be worked and can be kept active. Now, I presume it's probably quite early days, and I imagine there's no research there, but I'm always of the opinion that prevention's better than cure. And that sometimes we never know that what we're doing is making a difference. But, and again, I know it sort of follows through a lot of the normal stuff, the exercise, the eating right. Foods that, as a holistic therapist, we would certainly recommend would be, fish oils, all of the brain foods, fish oils, fresh fruit and veg. There's none of it rocket science yet. I think sometimes we keep needing the need to be reminded that there are reasons for doing this. Generally, when we look at the brain being 70% water, just keeping hydrated.
Simple.
So important.
It's like every other condition. I mean, the same healthy lifestyle tips apply. While at the moment there's so much money goes into research into dementia, we at present have no cure and no cause. So it's a tough battle.
It's a tough balance. But I suppose keeping, if we can just bear in mind that we might never know, but it's better. It's easier to sort something out now than to try and sort it out further down the line.
And that's one thing that we would say as dementia support workers, that if at all, if anyone has any worries about their memory, to go to their GP. Your GP will always be your first point of contact. However, if someone in their early 40s, 50s, sometimes can be dismissed as, worrying over nothing. If it persists and the conditions persist, always go and seek a second opinion. Always ask for that referral to a memory consultant. It's better to have it ruled in, but sometimes there are other conditions that someone may be suffering from that do mimic the symptoms of dementia. So don't just be put off by the first answer that you get back from the GP.
No, it's always worth keeping going.
Keep going.
And the types of signs that you would be looking out for, I know, would be obviously memory loss, lack of concentration.
Lack of concentration and inability to, get certain words out. Not necessarily forgetting where you put something, but maybe just not really realising what that particular thing is actually for. Someone once said to me, it wasn't losing the car keys, it was remembering what the car keys were actually for. And I suppose would there be sort of a lack of maybe interest in activities and things like that? I know that would be one of the things from a holistic point of view that we would sort of, we would be looking at and saying that just a sort of a general change in a general change in the normal every day-to-day reasoning and ability to converse with your loved ones that are with you every day. And usually those are the ones who can quickly identify that something just isn't as it should be.
And would you often see that there's a difficulty in maybe people recognising it around you? I mean, I think we're all great where people can see what's going on around us,
but choose to ignore.
Maybe don't. Well, and maybe they see it, but the individual themselves is burying their head in the sand a wee bit. And if a family member maybe had concerns, what would be the best approach?
Well, the best approach would be obviously contact ourselves. We do over 500 fact sheets which are readily available on the website also. So if there's any concerns, sometimes we'll get people asking about genetic link. Mummy's sister had it or daddy's brother, or you know.
Funny, that was the hereditary connection.
But there's not enough research to say that there is a significant, definite link. But if it has been present in the past, well then, you know, if it's one of the things that's flagging up in your own mind, certainly go. You know,
if in doubt, just trusting your intuition is always a big thing. We always know it's difficult to pinpoint often how we know something's not right. But if we really listen to ourselves,
there'll be certain triggers. There will be certain things that will make you think, well, that's just not.
And if you're ignoring it too many times, I mean, we can all have the forgetful moments.
Of course, it's what we sometimes class, and as the consultants will class, as the worried well. You know, where there's really nothing to worry about. But again, like everything else, double check.
And then the diagnosis process, is there, I presume the consultants have a series of tests that they can go through? Is there scans?
They will carry out what is known as the mini mental health examination, which is like a test that will score a person. They will sit that person down in front of them and they will ask them a series of questions, and given the score, that will all depend, that will indicate whether there's further testing needed. And the usual bloods and stuff, you know, so it's quite a good system.
The diagnosis process is well established, albeit that perhaps at this stage.
I will say that the diagnosis process for over 65s would be very thorough and very, you know, there's nothing that we have ever come across that would concern you. However, under 65s is a different ballgame. It's a much more difficult route to diagnosis. So that's something. That's an
something
area that we're trying to push on.
And raise awareness around that. And I suppose, as I said again, from going back to looking at prevention's better than cure, because I think that's the key bit. There would also be certain herbal remedies that can help us all to kind of keep our brain. Ginkgo biloba is one that's a really good brain power and has been proven to be brain power. And again, it's something that we can all sort of take to keep. Fish oil supplements, I know they've been certainly proven time and time again with everything from ADHD through to Parkinson's, through just that basically we're not eating as much fish as what we were doing. Keeping blood pressure and salt and things like that in check as well can obviously, because you were talking about the risk between the vascular dementia and so anything that's going to reduce your risk of stroke and heart disease. So it's a general well-being.
It is,
yes. Veg,
it's just simple,
getting in the right
simple
stuff.
Things.
Interestingly, one of the other areas can be exposure to heavy metals. And we would look at that certainly from as I say, from the looking at what the person's actually taking in. But again, drinking lots of water is one of the solutions for that. And certainly there's been some research recently linked, and I actually came across it on the Alzheimer's website as well, around, I think last year at University in England, come out with some research which they published around about this time last year, that water that's high in silica, so and silica is a mineral that can particularly help with clearing out heavy metals such as mercury, aluminium, things like that out of our system. And they, through their study, were able to show quite an improvement in cognitive behaviour. So the reduction of that, and some of the waters that we're talking about there would be like Volvic water, that has quite a high mineral content. Fiji water, things like that as well. So there's lots of, as you said, there's more and more research being done.
There is, and
I mean, it's your organisation being supported, then that allows for more and more research to be done.
Well, it will just always be ongoing research,
to get it pinpointed and to hopefully get to get a resolution, and to get an understanding of why this happens. And once you understand, I think, why something happens, then you're able to really change and to look at a different area as well. So if anybody has any worries or concerns in the local area, we're going to pop up on it, share our contact details there just for Julie's office, and Julie will be able to
that's where we're based, 2nd floor, Ballybot House. Always phone up, leave a message, and someone will always come back. And again, we also have a helpline as well. All those details also are on the national website. So we now have coverage pretty much all throughout the week for anyone who may be wanting instant.
crisis point sort
a
of thing,
crisis
where
point. Again, there's over 500 fact sheets available, and also there's a talking point on the website also. So there's plenty of, there's loads of avenues to get in contact.
I think, I suppose, the importance of going through. We all know about the Google diagnosis. I mean, where we can,
been there many times.
Yeah, we can diagnose ourselves with all sorts of wonderful diseases and illnesses and everything else, and we think we're on our way out. But the beauty of going through your website, alzheimers.org.uk, it's correct information, it's researched information, it's there to make sure that people are getting the right
information. And that's key. It is
as
key.
I say, we can, we could have every disease under the sun by searching certain things up on Google. Although I suppose there's a benefit there too from that whole holistic perspective, and looking through at what can we do for carers. I suppose that's an interesting angle as well that it might be worth considering.
As we do a lot of our support work would be with the carer, sometimes maybe more so than the actual person with dementia. So what we would say to carers is, do not try to carry the burden on your own. If at all, just lift the phone. The carer support groups are there. They're fantastic. It's a fantastic setup for people to just come in, get it off your chest, talk about it. You'll find that you're not the only one who's dealing with it, that there's possibly 6 or 7 other people around the table who have had the same issues that month, and they'll say, gosh, this is great that we can just, talk to one. So I'm not on my own with this.
We can offload a wee bit, and it's good to talk. I mean, that's the age, whatever we're dealing with, it's good to talk. A problem shared is a problem to have.
We also run twice a year carer information programmes, where they will run in conjunction with the local trust for a 6-week programme twice in the year, and you'll have the likes of the memory consultant will do a session one night. You'll have your CPM, which is your psychiatric nurse, community psychiatric nurse, and there'll be speech and language therapists, there'll be social workers, people who are part of the team that go together to help people with a diagnosis and their carers. So those programs are invaluable, and there's loads of information, and it's great to get, it's almost like a one-to-one with the professionals who are dealing with it. So again, all that information is on the website.
It's all through the website. Brilliant. And I suppose this managing stress then for the carers would be
it's huge.
A big perspective as
funny,
well. So
my sister was on holiday lately. She looks after mummy 24/7, and she says, I have a simple week away. And we'd also say to people, to avail of respite. A lot of people battle with putting someone into respite. I know it's a very personal choice, but the benefits of it are good, because you have a wee bit of space to recap,
breath,
recharge,
recharge, and again, all the general stress management stuff there, making sure you're eating correctly, because it's a bit like the airplane scenario where we're always told when we get on a plane to look after our own oxygen masks first, before we start looking at anybody else's, because if your oxygen supply is not there, then you're not going to be able to do it. So making sure that or as best you can. I think eating is such a key importance.
It is.
If you're eating right, you'll be able to deal with a lot more
of stuff,
than if you're not. And often what gets pushed aside is that whenever anybody's in a stressful situation, and particularly long term, is the fact that they start to I'm grabbing this here and I'm grabbing that there.
It's always on
their own stress. They're eating out of stress. They're eating comfort eating. There's a lot of emotional stuff going on around that. And that, from that point of view, I would be saying to people, look, try and fit in somewhere along the line, either a massage, reflexology, to go to yoga class. Try and just do something that's going to help you.
It's just a bit of time
in a better place,
Yeah.
because you will be so much better. For
you're
the other
no
person.
use to someone
once you hit burnout yourself, and that's
it's just a total mess all round. Then
essential oils, we're talking about how important smell is. Essential oils would be a fabulous thing to be used in the home. Things like lavender, rosemary, chamomile, all of those oils. Lavender's really good for relaxing. Chamomile's good for relaxing as well. Rosemary's a bit more stimulant, but very much connected to the memory as well, and in concentration and skills like that. So, and they can be things that are just burning. You don't have to take time out.
Yes.
You don't have to do anything. They can be in the house. Replace an air freshener. If anybody can do anything in terms of a current thing, I would say replace an air freshener with an essential oil.
Yes.
And you'll be well on the way to just helping your own health and well-being. Flower remedies as well are great for just helping to take the edge off emotion sometimes, because we all fluctuate. All of our emotions can fluctuate through. And as I said, I know with some carers groups that I would do with different, I would do some work with the Chest, Heart and Stroke. I've done some work in the past with the Alzheimer's Society and that as well. Even just a wee bit of self-massage, and that's a great bonding technique, because you could share that,
of course,
with the person. And you were saying that at the memory groups and that you do some hand massage and things like that. But it's a great way of just sharing and exchanging time.
Oh, of course,
and
and
in a positive way.
It's instantly relaxing.
Instantly relaxing, and
yeah.
it can be reciprocated. So you know, I can share with you, and you can share with me, and we can just do the same thing. In doing that in hand massage, which is great from one perspective, but you're also stimulating a lot of those acupressure points and a lot of the reflexology points as well. So you've got benefits coming in on all sides. Well, Julie, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you for having us. It's a great opportunity for us to get the word out there that we're here, should anybody need us.
And again, if anybody needs to contact myself through with any other information, you can. I'm available there on trythealternative.net. So from a holistic angle, any prevention stuff that anybody would like to look at, certainly I'm available to signpost or point in the direction for that as well. So thanks a million, everybody, for listening in this evening, and we will be back in touch next week.